Hey y'all, my name is Kaylee Morgan and I'm the Youth and University Program Manager here at Be the Bridge. And it's an honor to be introing today's episode. We are in the month of August and our students and educators are either returning to their classrooms or enjoying the last bit of summer. If you have children or are a student attending school, this time of year can be bittersweet or a sigh of relief. For parents and caretakers, the fall can be stressful. The prep leading up to the first day of school, balancing schedules, and if you have older children, those college applications are probably creeping up around the corner. Then you have the world we live in, a racially charged world that takes one step forward and two steps back at times. Not only are you having to navigate this personally, you have to be able to help your child process them as well. Well, what if I told you we would love to help? Here at Be the Bridge Youth, we are a safe space for your child to engage with other children their age and take steps towards racial healing, racial equity, and racial unity. We gather once a month so your child can develop as a leader, an individual, a student, and a member of their community. This generation is more aware of the realities of this world than any other generation before. With access to the news, social media, and the internet, they are the most informed generation to date. We want to be able to help your student learn how to engage with this information in a healthy manner and empower them to create change where they see fit. Our programming is a holistic leadership program where they will be educated, empowered, and equipped to make a difference today, tomorrow, and the days to come. I can tell you all about our programming and what a difference it is making in the lives of our students, but I'd rather you hear it from them. My prayer is that this episode encourages and inspires you, and ultimately gives you hope that the legacy of racial reconciliation is in good hands.
Be the Bridge, Be the Bridge. You are listening to the Be the Bridge podcast with Latasha Morrison.
How you guys doing today? It's exciting.
Each week, Be the Bridge podcast tackles subjects related to race and culture with the goal of bringing understanding.
But I'm going to do it in the spirit of love.
We believe understanding can move us toward racial healing, racial equity, and racial unity. Latasha Morrison is the founder of Be the Bridge, which is an organization responding to racial brokenness and systemic injustice in our world. This podcast is an extension of our vision to make sure people are no longer conditioned by a racialized society, but grounded in truth. If you have not hit the subscribe button, please do so now. Without further ado, let's begin today's podcast. Oh, and stick around for some important information at the end.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Be the Bridge podcast. I'm Patricia Taylor, the Director of Programs, and I have the pleasure of filling in for our president and founder, Latasha Morrison, for today's episode. I'm going to be speaking with our new-ish Youth and University Program Manager, Kaylee Morgan, and two of our youth participants, Regan Murray and Sydney Middleton. I want to tell you a little bit about these phenomenal women that we're going to be talking to today, and I hope you all enjoy this conversation. So Kaylee Morgan is a small town gal from Missouri that now calls the city of Atlanta her home. She's a writer who loves to laugh, listen to music, and has a heart that burns for the next generation. Kaylee is extremely passionate about championing racial justice and gospel-centered unity through education and information. She serves as the Youth and University Program Manager at Be the Bridge. And last but not least, let it be known that Kaylee is the Spice Girls' #1 fan. I know, Kaylee, this is the truth. And next we have Sydney Middleton. She was born and raised in the Atlanta area. She is a kind and loving person, but she can be a little aggressive on the basketball court. And there's nothing wrong with that. She has a soft spot for kids. She loves to surround herself with energetic people because she, too, is energetic. And serving the youth has never been a question for her. She hopes to pursue a career in pediatric occupational therapy. And last but not at all least, we have Regan Murray joining us today. She's also an Atlanta native, a writer at heart, and #1 Juice WRLD fan. She's a risk taker and enjoys modeling and serving her community through her work with the special needs ministry at her church and Be the Bridge Youth. She has a strong work ethic and determination to do whatever she puts her mind to. So these three are going to really help lead us into this incredibly important conversation about the work that we're doing with our youth and university program at Be the Bridge. Thank you, ladies, and hello. Thanks for joining me for the conversation today. I am super excited for us to dive right in. So Here we go. Are you all ready?
Yes, totally.
Awesome. So the Youth and University program brings with it so much excitement because of the enthusiasm of our participants and the knowledge that the children really are our future. Now let's all pause because that song's stuck in our head now. You're welcome. But I couldn't go without referencing it at least once. But seriously, our youth are making impacts in their spheres of influence, their communities, their families, and with their classmates. And that will help us see a more equitable world. And that's definitely something to celebrate and to talk more about. So it matters so much. And I am going to be here as a guide for this conversation, but you all really don't want to hear from me. So I'm going to turn it over to Kaylee Morgan, who is fairly new to our staff, and we are thrilled that she is here to tell us more about our youth program and how it is helping to see the mission of Be the Bridge lived out. So Kaylee, take it away.
Yes, of course. Well, first of all, thank you so much for having us. And I also just want to say thank you to the Be the Bridge staff for giving me such a warm welcome. But our youth program, you're right, it is very important. And as great as that song is, it actually does speak truth. The children really are our future. And if we want this justice work to make bounds and leaps and actually move forward, we have to train up the next generation. I always say there's somebody that always goes first, and no matter what you're doing. And so right now as adults, we would be the person that's paving the way and leading the way for the next generation to come through. And so our program really is just designed to just equip students to be prepared for the moment that we pass the torch. And it's earlier than they think it is. I would confidently say that these two ladies are already ready for the torch if they haven't already been passed it previously. So yeah, I just think that we're here to equip the next generation to continue to do the work and empower them to empower those that follow right after them.
I love that. And I love the thought of equipping, because I think often people will say things like, oh, the youth, they just got it. They don't have these concerns and they're not looking at people in this way or that way. And that may be true to a point, but at some point we do actually have to take it to the next step and have to educate and talk about truth and equip them, because they are going to hit a point where there are influences and there are societal impacts. There's news, there's different friend groups in all the ways. And so I'm glad that we can do what we're doing and help them to see what steps it takes to live out this justice-minded, more equitable world. So I really want to hear now from Sydney and Reagan, if you two are ready. You are both participants of our program. And so I want to ask you both why you said yes to being a part of what we're doing with the Be the Bridge Youth Program, and maybe share a bit about what impact it has made in your lives personally. Reagan, can we start with you?
Yeah, we can start with me. So the reason why I said yes to Be the Bridge is because I recognize that the work is something bigger than me, and it involves a community of people that I wanted to help lift up, because I'm a part of that community. And I feel like the youth is a major part of just what we're building for the future. And then starting now is important, because a lot of us don't have the tools yet to, work towards what we're trying to work towards, basically. And I just want to be a part of helping our community get to that point.
I love that. And I should have asked you this first, Reagan, but you and Sydney are both seniors, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, and then how long have you been involved with Be the Bridge, Reagan?
For like a year.
Okay, great. That's fantastic. Sydney, what about you? What made you say yes to being a part of what we're doing, and how has it impacted you personally?
I think for me, being a high school student, it's like important to start at like a young age when it comes to trying to make our world a better place because of, all the problems that we've had in the past when it comes to talking about race. And I think it starts at a young age with the people who like choose to step up and become a leader. And, with me, I think being a co-leader of a youth group, it's like it'll help me become a better leader, like, for when I go off to college, because that's something that I want to do. I also want to be a leader in college and, continue on these conversations. So I think starting now with the group that I'm with, starting these conversations now at an early time is going to definitely help with that. So I think that's one thing. And then also just wanting to be able to see a difference. Like after everything that's been going on in our world, I think being able to be a part of it, trying to help, definitely like puts a smile on my face, and I think it's important, and it's just something that I want to do because I want to see our world as a better place than what it is right now.
I love that. I love that you both commented on wanting to make your communities locally and I'm sure even nationally too, and even globally, a better place for everyone. And that really takes a lot of foresight and wisdom to know that it goes beyond ourselves. Like we do this work for the betterment of us all. So, Sydney, you said that you co-lead a group. I would love to hear more about that. And do you think you're a natural born leader, or did you have, influences that brought you to Be the Bridge? Tell us more about that.
I definitely had influences. I think my older brother is a huge influence, and then along with my mom has been, really close friends with Miss Latasha ever since, they just got out of college, because she went to college with my dad. So, we've known them we know Miss Latasha for a very long time. And I've never been one to really be a leader. Like, it's nothing not that I would shy away from it, but it's not something that I've ever, stepped up to do. But I think definitely watching my mom lead groups and be a big part of Be the Bridge, and then seeing my brother he's done podcasts before, he's, spoken to other people, like he's very well spoken. I think that also is one thing that helped encourage me to want to co-lead. And of course, this is something new for me. This is my first time ever co-leading, so it's like I'm still learning, but trying to get there, taking a few steps at a time.
I love that. I think you hit on something so important as, you have these influences around you that are inspiring you to try something that may be out of your comfort zone, but you see that it's really worth it. And taking those few steps at a time is all we need to get started. And I do want to give a shout out to your mom, Andrea Middleton, who's also just a wonderful part of our team. And she's the Be the Bridge Leaders group leader. And we have a Facebook group where people can get connected who want to lead groups. So, Reagan, are you in Sydney's group, or how are you two connected? Like doing this work together?
I'm in Sydney's youth group, but we've also been friends since middle school and a little bit before that too. I met her at my church, and then we just went to the same middle school, and then we now go to different high schools, but we're still connected in that way. So we've just been really good friends.
Oh, I love that. And how do you think, and this question can be for both of you, we'll start with you again, Reagan. How do you think that having these conversations within your group has changed you for the better?
Well, I think it's made me more open-minded and like willing to listen to other perspectives and like learn from other people in my age groups and like even adults or like Kaylee, and getting that like extra knowledge that I probably wouldn't have gotten from like speaking to the girls in our group. And then just being able to share has helped me like with my communication skills, and then just being more aware of my environments and like how big of an issue racism is.
And what about you, Sydney?
To piggyback off that, I agree with that. I think it's like I'm like blanking. I agree. Like I think it's helping me become better with communication as well. I'm not a person. I wouldn't consider myself a big person when it comes to talking about certain situations. Like this is my not first time, but one of the times that I've had like, these kind of deep conversations. I've had before, but I think having them constantly whenever we have our meetings every other week, I think not only as me being a leader, not only am I like, trying to help the other people in our group, I'm also listening to what the other people in the group have to say and getting knowledge from them. We're all just, sharing and kind of growing together.
I love that. Kaylee, these two young ladies are phenomenal. What do you think the impact is of our Be the Bridge groups for our youth?
Yeah, first of all, yes, they are phenomenal. I have had the honor to actually sit in their group and kind of sit back and listen to their discussions, and they're very bright. Our future is looking real good. But I would say the best part about these groups is it gives the students space to have these conversations, these brave conversations. Sometimes when there's a leader in a room that is like a bit older, oftentimes that's when the insecurities come into play. And if you're anything like me, you'll sit back and you'll observe because I just want to take it all in. But what I like about these youth groups is they're actually designed to be youth-led. Therefore, everyone's on an equal playing field, really. And so it breaks down those barriers. It breaks down those spaces where insecurity can maybe drop in and creep in. And gives them a space where, having peer-to-peer conversations, something I like to say is like having eye-level conversations. Nobody's looking down or speaking down to one another, but they're all sitting around in a circle, eye to eye, having real, honest, vulnerable conversations. And as you progress through the guide, conversations get deeper, they get real honest. And our guides in these groups just really, just create that space where actual change can happen, not only within themselves, but within their communities.
I love that. I'm going to have to crash one of your groups, okay? But maybe I don't want to do that because I'm an old person. So you are going to be like, no, this is the youth group. Thank you. Kaylee's still cool. It's okay. I get it. But no. you mentioned you mentioned the guide, that we have a youth guide. Kaylee, can you tell us more about the resource that we use to equip these groups?
Yeah, so we have a youth guide, and it has really 5 steps that you walk through as a group. So your first one is, you're going through the introduction to bridge building, because if you don't have the language to have the conversations, you're not going to get very far. So our very first thing is to just equip you with the correct terminology. We're all on the same level on hey, when we say this is what we mean. And then we walk into ourselves, knowing ourselves, or what we call the bridge to self. And this is where you have an internal look. You look at your own racial identity. You come to terms with your background, how you were raised, what influenced you. Because if you don't know who you are, where you came from, it's real hard to step into spaces and really make change, because you're also trying to figure out yourself at the same time. And so then we walk into the Bridge to Truth, and this is where we learn about true history, really. And we talk often here that you need to know the history of where you're at in order to know the context and the culture you're stepping into. So if you don't know what's going on, how are you going to change it if you don't actually know what has been going on? Then we go to the Bridge to Justice. What is true justice? What does that even mean? And you discuss that as a group. You really learn what true justice is and how we go about it. And then the last is the Bridge to Healing, and this is where the real reconciliation comes into play. And you heal as a community, and then you there are equipped and empowered to then go make change and try to heal outside of your group, but also in your schools, on your sports teams, anywhere that you have influence, you're bringing this healing power to it. And so that's really the 5 things we walk through in these guides.
That's fantastic. Sydney, I understand that your group has completed this guide, and this youth guide of ours is a values-based guide. What would you say that you found to be the most helpful about the guide itself?
I think whenever we first, as a group, we'll send the background to the group chat first for us to read and go through, and then we'll kind of discuss it whenever we gather together. But I think the background is really helpful. It gives us a better understanding on what we're really discussing, and whenever we start talking about our discussion questions. And then also the prayer, I think, is also really important to do as well. So I think the background and the prayer are the 2 things that I think really do contribute. And I think if we just kind of start digging into the questions without kind of having a background before, or praying after, a closing, I think it would be harder for us to kind of navigate through the questions, I think, without really understanding what we're getting ready to talk about through each lesson.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. Context is everything, and I love that we start the guide with laying down the foundation of this is what we mean here, because before we can even get started, just like you said, Kaylee, really get started, we know that there are so many people with varying definitions and ideas of what words mean, and it's important for us to all be starting from the same point of learning before we go in too deep. So, Reagan, what about you? What do you think is the most helpful about our youth guide?
Yeah, I would agree that the background helps a lot to put into context what we're talking about. And I think the discussion questions are also very conversational. So we could go through each question and have a drawn out conversation about it and not even think about what we're responding to. And then I like how it connects it to Christ and what the Bible verse is, how it's all biblical, and then we have to pray at the end, which is very it's very nice to have that safe space where you have those shared ideas.
I love that. And that you are working on the university guide now because you finished the youth guide. Is that correct?
Yes.
Wow. Superstars. So what made you want to go ahead and move on to the university guide?
I think because we're all seniors, so I think because we're getting ready to graduate and go to college, I think it's important to, because I know the university guide is a little bit deeper. So I think us being able to transferring into college, I think getting kind of a head start on it as well is important. I know a lot of the homework questions will talk about, it'll say things, say, in your university, do this. And I think we'll try and do that, in our school community and our high school community. But I think, like going through the university guide, which is a little bit more mature, I think it really will give us kind of like a head start and prepare us for what will come whenever we actually enter into college.
Mm-hmm. And how do you feel about that, Reagan? Do you agree, or is it helping you to feel better prepared to continue these conversations in your next phase of life?
Yeah, definitely. And I think with the university guide, that we're like more prepared, like that we did the youth guide already for like the next level of questions and discussions.
That's great. So it laid a good foundation before you went into that. So that's really helpful for, I think, a lot of people. We have wonderful resources, and sometimes unless you pick it up and go through it or talk to someone who has, you're not really sure just how much we have to offer. So that's exciting to hear. Now, we've talked about making a difference within our communities and, our colleges potentially, maybe in our churches or our sports teams or wherever we have influence. And I'm wondering, what are some examples or some things that you all have done already that has made a difference in your community?
So I know with this being like our, first time, I think, and all of us still being in high school, we've talked about doing certain things for our community. I think it's been a little difficult because we only do meet every other Sunday. And so everybody else has a lot of commitments like, church or sports or something like that outside of our youth group. So we haven't found time outside of our discussions, but I do think we do plan on having like kind of like at the end of after our last meeting, we plan on getting together and doing like one kind of big thing to help our community as a group, since we weren't able to implement it recently with us being in high school, but we do plan on trying to implement something. So that's what me and my other co-leader are discussing currently. So other than that, we just, I think we've had discussions inside of our schools. It was one of our homework assignments to do that, to have a discussion with people inside of our schools. So, I mean, if you consider that, we've done that before.
Absolutely, yeah.
In certain classes before. I know I've definitely discussed kind of like topics that we've gone over in our university guide and talked about it in my African American Journey class. So, yeah. And as far I know there's been other discussions with other people in the group, but I don't know specifically. But yes. That
sounds great, though. I mean, that's exactly, I can't remember who said it earlier in the conversation, but just taking those steps, one at a time. Like, you all are learning it and you're really feeling comfortable with it, growing and understanding what a difference it's making for you. And then to have those conversations at school with your peers, like, that's fantastic. So, Kaylee, what are some ideas maybe that for those who are listening, who maybe want to have their students, their youth, their university child signed up, or maybe it's someone who is, in this age range listening, wondering, well, how can I make a difference where I am right now? Like, what are some ideas that you can share with us for people who are really looking to make an impact? Make an impact.
If you've been enjoying and learning from the Be the Bridge podcast, we invite you to join us in this work. You can support and sustain our mission as a recurring partner at bethebridge.com/give. You can also help spread this word of bridge building by supporting and really sporting our apparel. So if you haven't gotten your Be the Bridge hat, sweatshirt, all of the things, let's take the message to the street. Visit our online store at shop.bethebridge.com and make sure we're spreading the word about all the work that Be the Bridge is doing and will do. At Be the Bridge, we're doing the work to empower people and culture toward racial healing, racial equity, and racial reconciliation. And this work is only possible because of the generosity of bridge builders like you. So thank you so much for those of you who are listening and sharing our podcast, sharing our posts, those of you who are giving to this work that's helping us create resources and material that will transform hearts. So join us at bethebridge.com/give, and let's continue to build bridges together. Thank you so much.
What are some ideas that you can share with us for people who are really looking to make an impact?
Yeah, of course. Well, one, you can visit btbyouth.com and you can come join us.
Yes.
But outside of that very well set up plug, you can start groups even on your own. Just look at what's around you. Who are you already around? And maybe start having some of these conversations. I would also say, find teachers, find coaches that you believe too are safe spaces that maybe you could bring it up to and say, hey, I would really like to have a group discussion on this. Do you think that would be possible? I think that you could find local organizations that are doing the work and just inquire and see how you can get involved. I also believe self-education is key. So whether that is reading a book, taking a course, YouTube is our greatest instructor. Finding valid, correct sources that are going to give you, like I said, remember earlier, the bridge to truth, true information. And I think too, even something you can do is, especially in college, you can contact your local congressman or woman, your local government, your city councils, and inquire and see what they're doing to help fight for these causes. Those are just like a few things off the top of my head.
Well, that's quite a start. I love that. And I think, in similar fashion, when we are encouraging, our adults who wanting to participate, it's start right where you are, and that's just as true here. So I love that. Is there anything else that you all would add to what Kaylee shared, Reagan or Sydney?
As far as trying to make a difference as of right now,
or just ideas of, how to get started. If someone's wondering, well, how do I get started? Aside from joining Be the Bridge, in addition to, I should say, joining Be the Bridge.
Well, I definitely agree with Kaylee was saying about having to educate yourself before you try and educate others. Because I think, you can't educate others without really educating yourself. It doesn't make sense. But I think also, just carrying conversations outside of groups will make a huge impact. Like little things like that, or suggesting the movies to watch as well, like the ones on the Be the Bridge website. Those little things really do make a big difference. So, yeah.
That's really good. Anything that you'd want to add to that, Reagan?
Just starting small, or your friends or your family, you find out something that you're reading, it's interesting, oh, hey, I learned this today about blah, 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 and then, they'll just, have that in the back of their head the rest of the day, and, you never know, a small conversation could change, someone's whole perspective on an issue like that, so.
That's so true. That's true. Yeah, that's really good. We can't take for granted that, within our own families, everyone might not have that knowledge or or understanding or, see things the same way. So that's really good, really helpful. So we're going to go back to this bridge of truth for a second. I'm going to ask you all a question. There is a lot of discussion, and I'm sure you all are talking about it in your groups, but it's happening in the news, school boards, legislation regarding what should or should not be taught at schools. And when it comes to truth telling, I mean, that's such a high value that we have at Be the Bridge, and that's when it comes to history and when we engage with each other in this work. There are some places that are wanting to ban books or no longer highlight authors of color, and the list goes on. But I'm just wondering if you all have personally faced any of those challenges, and whether you have or have not. If you have any words of encouragement or advice for students who may be in a place where they really want to do all these things that you all are talking about, but their communities or their schools aren't as receptive or open to what they're trying to do.
Me personally, I haven't experienced that where they try to, ban books or certain conversations. I think at my school, I go to a PWI, so a predominantly white institution. So it's more like ever since what happened summer of 2020, sorry. Like, I feel like it's been almost a little overwhelming about what they've tried to do. Like, it was a requirement for all of us to read The Hate U Give over the summer, and they'll put up posters, and at first it felt really nice, and it felt like at first that my school cared, but a lot of times it also felt like they only, did these things just to show others that the school is not really seclusive and they're trying to be more diverse, but it felt like it was only in that moment, and now it's kind of died down. So I feel like, I'm trying to think of advice I could give to another student, but for me, I haven't personally felt that. I'm trying to think of what it would feel like. That's definitely hard, especially as a kid in high school, to have to face not being able to talk about certain things that, have to, like, if you're Black, things that have to do with your race, and you're not being able to speak on or learn about your own history. It can definitely be hard. I think, again, I said this before, it doesn't have to be just, I think being talked about in schools is definitely important, but when you have things like this happening, I know that, like I said before, having conversations outside of school will definitely make a difference. It really will. To people in your community, your church, things like that, it really does make a difference. So, and I think, again, the whole thing with if you're not able to be educated or learn in your school, then definitely make an effort to educate yourself, like also being said before. So I'm gonna let Reagan go while I think.
That was great, Sydney. Reagan, take it away.
Okay. Well, I actually talked about this in one of my meetings at school with the Black Student Union that I'm a part of. We watched like a few news stories about it, and we kind of just talked about like the laws that were being enforced and everything like that. But we never had that happen at our school or any school that I've been to. But talking about it, we kind of just like all said like, well, we don't feel like that's fair, and that, we should all have the privilege to like speak on issues that like concern like our race, because these are things that happen to us every day. And I don't think that taking away like certain books or certain like rights to like speak about certain topics should be like enforced like that. So that's my opinion on it.
You both.
As far as like,
sorry, go ahead.
Advice that I would give students, like the self-educating thing, that's like definitely a big part of like learning about something, is like to be willing to learn like on your own, but also like surround yourself by other people that like you're close to, that you like know and like trust with like learning things with, like that also like in our group. That's also a big part of learning.
That's really good. Kaylee, I want to hear your thoughts in just a moment, but one thing that I feel like is a common thread that you both said, or at least inferred, is that like what happens, whether it's in the news or not, like whether it's that moment where you get a response because of something that's happened in the news, or if it's a day where no one's hearing about anything, this is still impacting us. It's still impacting, all of you and all of us. And so that's something that we are all wanting to make sure that we are not getting caught up in like the news cycles, but seeing what's happening at all times, and not, letting what's happening discourage us from having these conversations, because they can take place, anywhere and any time, even if there's a space where it says, where it's, it's a no, we can always find a place and a space for that to happen. So Kaylee, what are your thoughts on just, some of the pushback that's happening when it comes to these conversations in the schools?
Yeah, I would first of all encourage the student. I want to relieve them of the pressure to have to be like a martyr, or like, hey, this is important. Yes, you do not have to do it on your own. And it's okay to be confused, and it's okay to be frustrated and be angry and be upset if your school is one of these institutions that is stopping these conversations or banning these books. It's okay for you to feel some type of way about it. So I just want to give that permission and let them know, first and foremost, you don't have to do this by yourself. And so my big push would be find community, like Reagan was saying. Find the people that are safe. Find the people that feel the same way. And I would say come together collectively. You're going to know your institution better than anybody else is going to. Each institution is different, hence what we were saying before about you have to know the background and the history of where you're at to know what context and culture you're stepping into. So you're going to know that. Lean into that when pushing for change. And I think if you are a high school student, again, I think knowing your safe people to go to express these feelings, and express that you would like to quote unquote fight this, would be one of the first steps. Also, you can find, this is why the internet is so great. You can find people online that might be doing the exact same thing you're doing. And so reach out to them. Reach out to activists you may know. Reach out to advocates you may know. Find groups that are already doing work in their communities and inquire, like, hey, how is this working for you guys? Do you guys have any tips or tricks on how to talk to the school board, talk to the principal, talk to my coaches about these things? And 9 times out of 10, they're going to share the information with you because they want to see change, not just in their area, but just all over, globally, nationally, you name it. We want to see change across the board. And so trust me, nothing hurts asking. The worst that could happen is they don't answer you, and then you find the next person to ask, or the next article to read. But that would be my advice for somebody who's trying to navigate this space.
That's so good. It's a reminder we need too that no one's an island. And so there are so many resources available, and using the internet wisely
Yes.
can really connect you with amazing people. And just to have that reminder that, okay, I'm not the only one who's trying to make a difference. So that's wonderful. Kaylee, I want to keep going with you because you, I am certain, are one of these people that our youth can turn to. And that this is why we're thrilled to have you on our team. And I know that the youth are really excited about it too. But can you just tell us more about why you are so passionate about working with the youth and university students and the vision that you have for this program and why it matters to you so much?
Yeah, of course. Well, I have a huge heart that burns for the next generation. I really do believe that they are going to be the game changers in this movement. What we're doing now is outstanding work, but we're not going to be here forever. And what I love about our program is that it does, like I said at the beginning, it sets them up to continue this work and to actually see the changes be made. I really do believe this next generation is going to see some monumental things when it comes to justice work and the justice movement and justice actually being served. I am I'm a biracial gal, and I grew up in predominantly white area. And so I have had my own battles with just self-identity even, and racially, and also have dealt with my own, I've experienced racism on different ends. And so what I love about our guide is that, I mean, look, I am 28 years old and I went through the youth guide myself, and I learned a lot myself as an adult. And so it was great for the racial identity part of me. And what I love about Be the Bridge is that their biggest goal is reconciliation, which is another one of my passions. I have three big passions. I have a passion for the next generation, like I said. I'm very passionate about racial reconciliation. And honestly, my last biggest passion, it shouldn't be last, but I named it last, is I'm very passionate about Jesus. Probably should have said that one first, but it's cool. He knows.
Jesus knows, right? Exactly.
He knows. But yeah, no, those are my three biggest passions. Jesus, the next generation, and reconciliation. And what I love is that that's everything that Be the Bridge is about. And so really, if I'm honest, I got my dream job. I get to help the next generation, not only with the educational piece that is justice work, but my vision for this program is to also build them up as a individual as well. Knowing information is great, but if you don't know how to deliver it, you might as well not know it. If you don't know how to manage your time, you're going to fail in trying to push an agenda. And so if we really want to see change, we can't just information load. We have to actually develop as people, and we have to mature and develop the skills to be able to have endurance to keep this fight going. And that's what we need. We need this next generation to stay hungry, and we need them to stay passionate and to continue to do the work And burnout is a real thing. And this generation fights, and they fight hard. And so I want to be able to give them a space to not only fight hard, but to also stay in the game. Because if we're not staying in the game, nothing's going to be done. And so that is my big vision for Be the Bridge Youth is, yes, we're going to learn how to fight for justice, but we're also going to learn how to have an eye-to-eye conversation. And we're going to learn how to talk to somebody that may be older respectfully and still get your point across. Mm-hmm. And we're going to learn how to manage our time so we can pass our classes and graduate so we can continue to do work outside of the school. Because those are all key things in becoming an activist, quote unquote, or an advocate for change.
Well, that's Kaylee Morgan, everyone, our new youth and university manager. You can't see me, but I'm like nodding my head profusely. Everything you said, yes, yes, yes. Thank you so much for breaking that down. And it's true. It's the absolute truth. You know, this is sustainable. This is a lifelong journey. I remember one of the early conversations I heard our founder and president, Latasha Morrison, share. It was just so encouraging to me because it was that reminder when she said, I knew I had to make a decision that there may be some things a lot of things that I'm not going to see happen in my lifetime, but I am pushing that needle forward. I'm moving forward because we know that that change can and will come because it's happened before and it will continue to happen in the future. And so just to be able to build in those practices and that awareness and on a practical level as well as on a heart level is so critical. And at this age to get that, what a gift, like what a gift that is. So thank you so much, Kaylee. Before we wrap up this amazing conversation, Reagan and Sydney, is there anything else that you want to share about how life-changing and wonderful Be the Bridge Youth has been for the two of you? Really, you ladies are phenomenal, and I'm so happy that you joined us for this conversation. Anything you want to share?
I love Be the Bridge.
Yes.
No, I do. I love being a part of Be the Bridge. I think it definitely has changed me for the better.
I love that. Be the Bridge, highly recommend, right? 10 out of 10. Kaylee, can you tell us or tell those listening how to get connected to the youth program? Because the socials and everything are a little bit different than what people may be familiar with.
Yeah, of course. You can find us at btbyouth.com. You can also find us on Instagram. Again, it's BTB Youth. That is our handle on both Instagram and Twitter. And very soon you will be seeing us on TikTok.
What?
Yeah,
this is really for the youth.
This is for the youth. We are really out here. We're gonna venture into TikTok. And that
are you gonna dance for us?
Yeah, she is.
Sydney is gonna dance.
Yes.
Oh, no, we will be teaching her.
They're gonna teach me a dance. This is where I go from perceptively cool to not at all. This is where I'm gonna lose all of my cool points. People think I'm cool, and then I'm gonna try to dance, and they're gonna be like, she should stop. But yeah, no, we're gonna be on TikTok, and we are on TikTok, and that is Be the Bridge _.
Wonderful.
Be the Bridge _ and that should be in the notes, right?
Yes, they'll be able to find all this information. You all who are listening will be able to find all this information in our show notes, and we really do hope that you get connected. I really want to thank all three of our guests, Kaylee and Sydney and Reagan, for taking your time to speak with us today about our youth and university program and encouraging everyone who's listening to continue to take those steps forward and making a difference, and knowing that there is a space for all of us, and there's not an age limit or age requirement to step into this work. And thank you for being such wonderful examples of that.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Go to the donors table if you'd like to hear the unedited version of this podcast.
Thanks for listening to the Be the Bridge podcast. To find out more about the Be the Bridge organization and or to become a bridge builder in your community, go to bethebridge.com. Again, that's bethebridge.com. If you've enjoyed this podcast, remember to rate and review it on this platform and share it with as many people as you possibly can. You can also connect with us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Today's show was edited, recorded, and produced by Trayvon Potts at Integrated Entertainment Studios in Metro Atlanta, Georgia. The host and executive producer is Latasha Morrison. Lauren C. Brown is the senior producer.
And transcribed by Sarah Conitzer.
Please join us next time. This has been a Be the Bridge production.